In January 2020, the UK left the European Union, ending a relationship that lasted almost 50 years. Brexit supporters said it would bring about greater national sovereignty and an economic revival. But 6 years later, has Brexit achieved its objectives? Has life improved for the average British person? The UK's exit from the EU came with four main promises: a reduction in immigration, freedom over their laws, independent trade, and more money for public services. Immigration was a two-way street. EU membership allowed free movement within the bloc, but Brexiteers wanted to stop EU nationals from moving to the UK. It didn't quite work out that way. While migration from the EU fell, net migration from the rest of the world increased, driven by work and student visas and also asylum seekers and refugees, with arrivals peaking in 2023. But migration wasn't the only factor that fueled Brexit support. When it took effect, the Prime Minister at the time, Boris Johnson, said EU legislation undermined British democracy. He wanted the UK to make all of its own laws. 6 years later, EU law no longer automatically applies in the UK, but thousands of them were copied into domestic law for a smoother transition. As for trade, Brexit added new barriers. It replaced easy access to the EU with more paperwork and higher costs. But it allowed the UK to make new trade deals with Australia and New Zealand, which have boosted the economy by 0.08%. That's far less than what it lost. Estimates say that Brexit shrunk the UK economy by around 4%. The amount of money the UK sent the EU was a controversial topic before the Brexit referendum. Brexiteers argued that leaving the EU would save $473 million per week, which some said could be used to fund the National Health Service, or NHS. Yet when the UK made its exit, its payments to Brussels didn't stop. And the NHS and other public services are struggling even more than before because of underfunding and staff shortages, fueled in part by migration out of the UK. So while Brexit may have achieved greater sovereignty, the average person in the UK was almost $3,000 poorer by 2023. That number is over $4,500 for Londoners. And London's economy alone has shrunk by more than $40 billion. Of course, that economic decline can't be solely attributed to Brexit. Successive crises like the pandemic and the Russia-Ukraine war have all put strain on the economy. But 6 years on, there's been no economic revival. And a record number of British people are leaving the UK to escape poor economic prospects.